Hi, my name is Andrew Huang, and this is my TED Talk about racial poverty in America. So, my parents came to America on October 28th, 1995. With my sister, who was at the time only 6 years old, they had high expectations. The American dream was what they were following. With little English and no connections, they left everything they had back in Korea and came to the US with only the clothes on their back and enough money for a small studio in LA. They dreamed of getting that suburban house with a white picket fence, my sister getting a college degree, and them living out their days doing whatever they pleased as they found so much fortune in America doing Lord knows what. They found their first jobs bagging groceries at El Superior, making the minimum wage at the time of $4.75. After 2 weeks of working, they finally got that hard earned American dollar that they always dreamed of. However, walking home, my mom was robbed. Her bag was ripped out of her arm, so she called my dad crying, confused, and not knowing what to do. My dad, being a real man, said he'll find them and get their money back, but unfortunately failed to do so. At the time, they didn't understand why it happened. They didn't understand why someone couldn't just work as hard as they did. They didn't understand why, even though they were born in America and given an equal opportunity to succeed, they had to resort to crime for some petty cash. But as they worked around in various jobs in downtown LA and Huntington Park, they learned that people were not committing crimes because they want to, but because they have to. They had to just to put food on their child's plate. In a country designed to make minorities fails, my parents beat the system. They made it out out of a bad situation. However, as lucky as they were, they could have just been as unlucky and fallen to the vicious oppression that minorities face financially. African Americans and Hispanics make up nearly 30% of the population in America. But, however, 1/5 of them are living in poverty. Think about that. Out of the 300 million people living in America, that's over 18 million people living in poverty. 18 million people wondering where their next meal is going to come from, and 18 million not knowing if they're going to have a roof over their heads the next month. In California, 7% of white people live in poverty, while for African Americans, it's 17%, and for Hispanics, it's 14%. That's double the poverty rate of whites. In the Midwest, however, this poverty rate for minorities are tripled. Now think about that. Well, the reason is simple. Sinister, but simple. Minorities are usually grouped together because that's how they want it. I mean, sure, we could talk about how the government controls the weather or how they killed Tupac, but let's really talk about the matter at hand. In the early 1900s, group subsidized housing was started through federal funding to provide homes for low-income families. These were known as the projects. Even though this program was put on as a front of trying to help low-income families, all it really did was group people of color together. Project housing concentrated poverty, increased crime dramatically, and kept the colored segregated as they were the ones living in the projects. This made nearby schools poorly funded as they could never put up the same test scores as predominantly white schools. So the education system failed them. Jobs were hard to come by, as their skin tone immediately set them lower than their white counterparts. And for a lack of education, it made it hard to qualify for a decent paying job, so the job market failed them. At that point, what do you do? Or what can you do? You have to turn to crime to make matters meet, whether it be selling narcotics, prostitution, or robbing an innocent old Asian lady. It is an undeniable truth that crime is the main source of income in the projects. So what can we do? First off, emphasizing education in low-income areas will set students up for success and give them hope for a better future. This will provide for better job opportunities and a more diversified middle to high class. We need to debunk the idea that trickle-down economics will benefit everyone when, in fact, it really only benefits the top 1%. By allowing everyone in America an equal opportunity to succeed, we can shrink the lower class and build a strong middle class which is known to hold up the American economy. Although a downright racist travel ban might seem like the answer, we could break it down into simple math. The United States had 18 mass shootings. Out of those 18, 4 were done by Muslims. Of those 4 Muslims, none of them were for the 7 countries listed on the ban, while the other 14 were committed by white people. So instead of bans and great walls, we should really just lift one another up and allow the country to succeed as a whole. Thank you.